What's up, guys? Today we're talking about the pros and cons of living in Norfolk, and we're getting after it right now. In this channel, we go over all of the work, eat, sleep, play, everything you could possibly need to know about living in Hampton Roads. So if that's the information that you want, hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell so you can be notified every time we put out new content. My name is Ed Wheeler, and I'm a realtor and sailor here in Hampton Roads, and I help people all the time, whether they're moving, relocating, or pcsing here to Hampton Roads. And if you're one of those people, give me a call, shoot me a text, find me on Facebook, message me, email me, snail mail, I don't care, whatever you got to do it, because I've got your back when it comes to moving here to Hampton Roads. Alright guys, so today we're going over the pros and cons of living in Norfolk. So I've got about 10 of them. I'm going to do kind of one con, one pro, and then we'll just keep going from there. And if any of them don't make sense to you, let's say you don't agree with them, comment down below and let me know what your cons or your pros are for living in Norfolk. Alright, so let's start with a con. Con number one, schools. Schools are really not very good. So my son, actually I shouldn't say that. I don't want to say that they're bad, and I also don't want to say they're good. They're really right in the middle. So my son, he's 7. He goes to school here in Norfolk, and we've actually gotten quite frustrated a few times with the school district. This fall he's going to a school where it's going to be kindergarten through 8th grade. Some people might not think that's a big deal. To me, that's a big deal. I don't want middle schoolers mingling with my son, who's an elementary schooler, because middle schoolers, I hate to say it, but they're nuts. And then of course right now with COVID and everything, we don't really know what's going to happen. So and the websites are not very updated. So those are kind of the reasons why I say it's kind of a con. As far as education wise, it's just kind of average. For the rest of the United States, it's pretty much just average. So the first pro for this area, for Norfolk, is that it is extremely historical. As I went over in one of my other videos on Hampton, Hampton itself has been around since 1610. It is the oldest speaking city, English speaking city in this Hampton Roads area, actually in the United States. And so Norfolk is just like that. There's a ton of history here. There's a lot of Civil War things that went on around here. The Hampton Roads area itself is actually home to where the ironclads, the two ironclads, fought against each other during the Civil War. So there's just a ton of history around here. Most of the buildings are really old. So it's just really cool. They've got a ton of museums and everything like that you can go to, see a lot of history, see a lot of things that have been here for, since the 1700s. So I mean, I couldn't list everything because it would go on forever. All right, con number 2 would be the crime. The crime is higher in Norfolk than it is in other areas, mainly because it's kind of the epicenter of this area. So it is more hustle and bustle. There's a lot of highways that go through there. So there's just a lot of people that are kind of mishmashed right together, and so the crime is a little bit higher. Pro number 2 would be the jobs. So the jobs here in Norfolk are abundant. I mean, you're talking about the largest naval base in the United States. So you're talking about the aviation side, you're talking about the ship side. There's a ton of jobs for contractors. So if you're coming here and you're looking for either of those, you can get a job most likely on base, especially if you have prior military service, prior Navy service. You can easily find a job on base The other thing about Norfolk is because there are quite a few people here, uh, the jobs as far as outside of the Navy, you can find plenty of jobs there too. I mean, just up the street that I live down is called Military Circle. There's a ton of shops and businesses, so you can find a job pretty much anywhere here in Norfolk. So number three con is, well, depending on how you look at it, it could be a con or a pro. It would be the weather. So the weather of Norfolk, you have every single season. It's winter, summer, spring, and fall. I mean, it's the normal East Coast thing. So you're gonna have real cold winters and you're gonna have real hot summers. And the summers are really humid. And right now, because we are in summer, it's extremely humid. And we're also in hurricane season. So hurricane season here in August, it's very rainy. We're going through a period right now where Hurricane Fred was supposedly coming up, and then it kind of veered off course, which is good for us. But it did bring a lot of rain. With a lot of rain can come some flooding. So it depends on where you are in the Norfolk area. There might be a chance for flooding. It doesn't happen too often, but it can happen. The other day I had to go home because I had a roof leak, and I had to, on Norfolk base, I jumped in my car, and before I jumped in my car, I was standing in about 8 inches of water. By the time I got back to work, the water was gone. So there is some, but I wouldn't say it's as widespread as everybody kind of thinks it is. And as far as other things about the weather, I think I mentioned it before in another video. I get allergies almost every single season here, and it drives me nuts. In the spring especially, you have pollen coats everything all over your cars. You might as well not even wash it until summer, because it's just going to be, you're going to wash it and then it's going to have pollen right back on it. So yeah. The fall though, absolutely beautiful. I love the spring and fall, even with the pollen, because it's the best temperature, especially in the fall. You watch all the leaves change color. It's absolutely gorgeous. Winter is great around here. You've got a chance for snow still, even though we are further south. You still have a chance for snow. It does get very cold. And the other thing about the winter that's super nice is everybody's super festive, and you have places that you can go see Christmas lights. You don't necessarily have to drive neighborhood to neighborhood to find them, although I will be making a video on that. You can just go to like the botanical garden and go see the Christmas lights there. So if you don't like being hot and muggy in the summer and pretty cold in the winter, then you're probably not going to like the weather during those times. You might like it better in the spring and summer, or spring and fall. But I mean, I know some people that love the heat, so they just want to be in the heat. But this heat is, like I said, it's muggy, so you might not like this type of heat. Me personally, I like when it's cold because I'm kind of a homebody. I like to sit at home and snuggle underneath the blanket. But again, it's all what your preference for weather is. So that's kind of why I said it can be a con, especially with the hurricane season, but you might think it's fine. All right, so number 3 pro would be childcare. Childcare is immensely abundant here in Norfolk. It's everywhere, and it's not extremely expensive. So alongside me, I'm gonna put up the average of childcare per week. And also, if you are military being stationed at NS Norfolk, you have access to the CDC. The only problem with the CDC is that there is always a wait list. I just had a friend of mine try to have their kid put in the CDC, and they were put on a wait list for a year. And because of schedule changes and things like that, they just pulled themselves off of the wait list. So the wait list is crazy. Get on it early if you're going to be stationed here. So cons 4 and 5. I'm gonna put them together because it's traffic and road conditions. So the traffic around here, for the most part, is fine. You get used to it. There's always a lot of people on the road. You get used to it. The problem comes in when it's either raining, it's snowing, carrier is in town, there's an accident, any of those things, and it's like the entire highway shuts down. I live about 15 minutes away from work, and on a Friday, the carrier, people are trying to go home. They're going from the carrier. If the carrier's in town, you've got a lot of people here. And instead of 15 minutes, it takes me an hour. So it kind of gives you an idea of what the traffic is like here. And then, of course, you have the road conditions. The roads are not as well kept as I would like to see from a city, especially of this size. But I can tell you that right now they are doing road work. So maybe by the time you would come here, it might be done and it might look a lot better than what I'm saying right now. But as of right now, the road conditions are not very good. They've had plenty of problems with people complaining about giant potholes in front of their house. The other thing about the traffic is that the roadways, the incoming to the highway and the outgoing, the exits, you can have some serious problems there. People here drive, I mean, kind of like any other East Coast area, but the other problem that I have with this area is because there are so many people that are in the military, that are from all walks of life. Maybe they haven't driven in a city, maybe they have. You get all these different people together driving at the same time, and it creates. You never know what the person's going to do, and when you have the incoming traffic onto the highway, there's usually only about 2 lanes right there. And they're coming in, and the guys going down the highway don't, it's courtesy to get over. Get over to the left lane so that oncoming traffic can come onto the highway. Going onto the highway, there's an on-ramp, and then there's the exit. So you get on the highway, and so while you're trying to get on the highway, guys are in this lane trying to get over to the exit. So you've got this giant congestion. I mean, I've almost smacked into people they've been flying over trying to get off. Anyway, it can be a crazy time being on the highway. So just be careful out there. You do have to be a little bit aggressive of a driver here, because people do cut you off. And if you want to get over, you have to. That's your exit, you have to get over. There's no way around it. So number 4 pro is the home price. Home prices here in Norfolk are pretty decent compared to the rest of the area. It's about it ranges, I'd say that for a decent home, it ranges between about 210 to 300, and that's for a pretty darn good home. A lot of different neighborhoods here that are good. Obviously, you're going to have neighborhoods that maybe you don't want to live in, but there are plenty of nice neighborhoods here in Norfolk to live in. And the number 5 pro that I have is there is a ton to do. A ton. I'm talking about, because you are so central in this area, you can get anywhere that you want to within about 25 minutes, 30 max. And usually it's even less than that. It's probably about 15, max of 30, to get anywhere that you want to get to in this area from Norfolk. Plus the food. The food, me being from Philadelphia, the food is phenomenal. For a cheesesteak, the closest thing that I found here to an actual Philly is Fat Phillies, and they are amazing at their job, and they're super nice, super friendly, got that home, hole in the wall feel to them. Awesome. But there's plenty of food choices here. There's plenty of things to do, plenty of museums. You can go to the Nautilus Museum. You can go to the Botanical Gardens. You can go, I have a friend that does magnet fishing because of the history in the area. He goes and does magnet fishing, has pulled out all kinds of, musket balls, cannonballs, horseshoes, stuff like that. If that's what interests you, there are a ton of places to go to fish. There's a ton of outdoor stuff to do. I mean, really, the sky's the limit in Norfolk. It really is. So I hope you like this video. Again, if this is where you're coming and you're getting stationed here, you're relocating, you're moving to Norfolk for a new job, whatever it may be, again, give me a call, shoot me a text, write me an email, find me on Facebook, message me, any way you have to, and I will do my best to take care of your move.